Good afternoon, grade 10s. It's me again, Hector S. Nkosi. I'll be taking you for maths. We are still looking at functions. Please feel free to email me at nkosihector28@gmail.com if you've got any problems or queries. We're looking at functions part 2. Remember functions, guys, it's part of your paper 1, right? Remember in grade 10 maths, that's where you're going to have two papers, paper 1 and paper 2. So each and every chapter that you start, you need to know whether does it fall under paper 1 or paper 2. Today we'll be looking at DPE November 2017, question 5 and 6, right? So far we have dealt with number of graphs or functions. We've dealt with a straight line graph of which is given by y is equals to mx plus c. You are also have your parabola graph of which is given by y is equals to ax squared plus bx plus c. And also your hyperbola graph, y is equals to a over x plus q. As you see here by the learning outcomes, you also have the exponential graph of which is given by y is equals to ax squared plus q. So boys and girls, the only thing that you need to know at this point in time is you need to know how to sketch your graph. I'm sure yesterday you saw how we were given an equation, then you had to sketch the graph. Or alternatively, you'll be given the equation and the graph, then you have to analyze the graph. So either way. So you need to be able to work versatile, working from the graph or working from the equation to the graph. So that's what we need to know at this point in time. However, in grade 11, it goes more deep where they ask about where they include three graphs in one Cartesian plane. You also need to be familiar with that. Okay, cool. Then now we need to go to our worksheet. So as I said to you earlier on, we'll be looking at November 2017, question 5 and 6. So here, boys and girls, if you look at your question 5, you are given what? A parabola graph and a straight line graph. Bear in mind that your straight line graph, you've dealt with it from grade 9, right? Is easy is the one that says y is equals to mx plus c. Your parabola graph is the graph that you started with in grade 10, right? So basically remember, in your parabola graph, you know that if it has the set face, you know that your a, it's always negative. If your parabola graph has the happy face, you know that your a is positive. So here it says the diagram shows the graphs of g of x is equals to ax squared plus q and f of x mx plus c. So r and s, 2 is to 0. So basically, here's your r and that's your s, basically, right? Are the x-intercepts of g and t, 0 and 8, basically. We call t what? A turning point is the y-intercept of g. Graph f passes through r and t. So your f of x, your straight line passes r and t, those two coordinates, basically. All right. Okay. Feel free, guys, to ask any questions as we are about to start with our first question, of which is 5.1. Welcome to those who have just joined us. I can see people are coming in numbers and numbers. Welcome to all our new babies. I can see Itu. It's my first time seeing you. The class are always here as usual. Welcome, guys. We are finishing functions this week. By Friday, we should be done with functions. By Friday, you should be able to know how to do your functions from A up to Z, right? Okay. If you look 5.1, it says write down the range of G. Remember, boys and girls, your range is the maximum that a graph can reach on a y-axis. So if you look at your g of x is your parabola. But remember, what is the range? So the range can reach what? 8, right? So the range will be y is less than 8. So basically the range, it's when it's the maximum or the minimum that the graph can reach on the y-axis, right? So basically your range will be what? Y is less than 8. Perfect. So if you look here, yes, range is y is less than or equals to 8, meaning y can be less than or be equals to 8. That will be your range, meaning your g of x can go above 8. So it can go 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, minus, just like that, right? So remember, don't forget that the range is the maximum or minimum that the graph can go to in your y-axis, right? Then now, when we look at what you call, when we look at 5.2, 5.2 says write down the x coordinates of R. So basically here, you need to write down the x coordinates of R, meaning now they want only the x coordinates of R. How can we get the x coordinates of R? We know for the fact that R is the intersection of G and F, right? So we can get x coordinates in two ways, basically, right? And we know that since that it's going to be x is equals to -2, because the other side, your x intercepts, it's 2. And this will be your x is equals to -2, boys and girls, right? So please be aware with what we are doing and make sure that you follow everything. Then 5.3 says calculate the values of A and Q. So now you must calculate the values of A and Q. So in your parabola graph, your g of x, you must be able to calculate the value of A and the value of Q. So the value of A, we know that it's going to be negative. Why? Because g of x is given as a negative, as a set face. So your A, the value of A will be negative, right? Q, we know that already the value of Q is going to be plus something, because I told you the other day that if your graph, your parabola graph has the set face, meaning that your Q will be positive. But if your parabola has the happy face, it means that your graph, your Q will be negative, right? Okay. I can see Untitled is giving me the answer, says Q. No, they did not say give coordinates of Q, but it says give the value of Q. So Q is equals to 8, basically, right? Not coordinates, right? 5.3. So we know Q is 8 from T, because we know that Q is the maximum. Basically, Q is your range, basically, for the hyperbola. I mean, for the parabola graph, of which is g of x, right? So how can we get the value of, how can we get the value of A? Who can tell me? Boys and girls, how can we get A? Yes, Q is 8, but how can we get A? Basically, A, guys, you can take any point that is lying on your g of x. So you can take your point S, you can take your point R and just substitute it to a g of x. Then where there is x, you put the value. Where there is y, you put the value. You have the q, then you'll be having one unknown, of which is A. So you can just solve for A, basically, right? So I can see Aaron got that A is equals to -2. Aaron, can I unmute you so that you can explain to us how you got -2? Hello, Aaron. Hi, Aaron. Aaron, hello.
Hello.
Hello, Aaron. How are you, my boy?
I'm
Hello,
fine, sir.
Aaron. I'm okay. So can you please explain to us how you got A is equals to -2?
Sir,
Yeah. Hello, Aaron. Aaron.
Yes. So I said, since you say that for the graph for G, you can use what's this? Any point, what's this point?
Any point that is lying on G, yes.
Yes. So, I took the what's this S? It's two
Okay.
the
Okay.
coordinates. Then
So,
when
yeah.
where since what's this Y is 8, what's this where then I put at the 8 where there is what's this the Q. I put at 8.
Yeah.
Then I took the 2 and also put it what's this in the and place it by the x value. So my what's this equation will now be a
Yes.
2 to the power of 2 plus 8.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then I said it equals to 0.
Mm-hmm.
And then I took the 8 to the other side.
Okay.
It became
Uh,
negative 8. Then I solved
yeah.
the what? Then I solved the square. The what's the square root? What's this? The 2 to the power of 2. It gave me 4.
No, it's supposed to say a squared. I mean, a2. Basically, it's going to be 2a squared, right? Hello, Aaron. Aaron, can you see? Hello, Aaron. Aaron, can you hear me? Okay, I don't know what's happening with
Yes.
Aaron. Okay, can you see on the chat
I'm
box what
having
I'm? Then you divide by 2 both sides. Therefore, you're going to have negative 4 is equals to a
some
squared.
yes, I'm having trouble with the network.
Oh, okay. No, it's fine. It's fine, my boy. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right.
Yes.
Then what you need to do now, so you've got a squared is equals to 4,
Yes.
right? So since
Yes.
you've got a squared is equals to 4, how can you solve that?
So what's this? You take the what's this to the 4 to the other side, and it becomes negative 8 over 4, which is negative 2.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, sir. Then
Okay,
your a equals to negative 2. Then the
yes.
what's yes, sir.
Yes, yes, like this, boys and girls. So basically, where there is you just put your 2, then it's going to be a 2 squared plus 8 is equals to 0. Therefore, will be equals to 2, basically. Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much, my boy.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Aaron. Right. Okay, cool. Then now let's look at 5.4. 5.4 says determine the equation of f of x. We know that f of x, boys and girls, is what? F of x is a straight line equation. And remember that in a straight line equation, I said to you, if you want the straight line equation, it's either you must have 2 points or you can have 1 point and a gradient. You can always get your straight line equation, basically. Sorry about that. I don't know why this thing is moving so fast, right? So in this case, we've got point R and point T. Therefore, we can calculate the equation of a straight line. So basically, when you go here, you'll be like y is equals to mx plus c is equals to 8, right? Then now you must substitute. Therefore, you're going to get your negative 2 is equals to negative 2m plus 8. Therefore, your gradient is 4. Therefore, your f of x is equals to 4x plus 8. And remember, because now your gradient, because this is an upward sloping, your gradient will always be positive, right? And here, this is where it touches your y-axis. That's plus 8. No wonder our value of c is given by plus 8. Okay, let me just check at the chat. Right, perfect. Untitled, that's correct. That's correct. Well done. right? 5.5, it says the graph to determine the values of x for which, let's see, so where f of x is equals to g of x, where x times g of x is less than or greater than 0, right? So basically, guys, who wants to do this one for us? We've been doing this one. Please do this one for me, guys. I'm just going to give you 30 seconds, especially to do 5.1.1. Basically, you take the equation of f of x, you equate it with the equation of g of x, and you solve for x. This one, it's x times the equation of your g of x. It must be less than or equals to 0, right? I'm just going to give you 30 minutes while you are working on 5.1.1. Then we have to mark it together, boys and girls. If you've got the answer, let me know. I'll unmute you so that you can take us through. Okay, your 30 minutes starts now. Okay, boys and girls, your 30 minutes is finished. We need to start marking because time is running. Okay, someone is asking me to scroll up. Actually, Aaron is asking me to scroll up. I've scrolled up. I hope this is fine. Okay, so now basically, when we look here, your g of x, when you equate to f of x, you'll get what? You'll get x is equals to -2 or x is equals to 0, right? Because now the equation of g of x, basically, what is the equation of g of x? The equation of g of x, we know that g of x is actually -2a plus 8, right? Plus 8, and it must be equals to what? It must be equals to 4x. Yeah, -2a. Yeah, it's not 2a, but negative 2x squared. Sorry, 2x squared. This is the g of x one. That's the, we must equate it with the f of x, of which is 4x plus 8. 4x plus 8. So that's your step one, basically, right? Then now, what you need to do is to group everything. So now you're going to have what? You're going to have negative 2x squared. Negative 2x squared minus 4x minus 4x minus 4x. Then when you bring 8 to this other side, it's going to be plus 8 minus 8. So basically it's 0, right? So minus 8, so it's just plus 8 minus 8 is equals to 0, basically, right? Right? So now we're going to have negative 2 x squared, right? Negative 2x squared, right? Minus 4x minus 4x is equals to 0, right? So basically here, after you have to solve for x. So basically when you want to solve for x here, you need to factorize. You have to factorize 2x basically, right? So you can factorize 2x, open the bracket and have what? And have what? And have your x, right? And after have negative 2, negative 2, right? Then is equals to 0, is equals to 0. Then your answer will be 2x is equals to 0, or x is equals to negative 2. So that's how we got the answer in 5.1.1 basically. Now let's look at 5.1.2. 5.5.2 basically. 5.5.2 says to you x times g of x, it's less than or equals to 0. So you must have your x multiplied by your g of x. We know g of x is what? Our g of x is the parabola. So if you look here, oopsie, sorry, if you look here, oh, okay, sorry, I don't know why is it going so fast. So basically, if you look here, your you must have your x, you must multiply it with your g of x. What is your g of x? Your g of x is your parabola. So it's negative 2x squared plus 8. It must be less than or greater than 0. So this is your inequality equation. So this is your solution. It's either x must be greater than or less than 2, or x must be less than or greater than 0, basically. Or you can put it like this, or x can be greater than or equals to 2. Then now, if you look at 5.6, 5.6 says now the graph H is obtained when G is reflected along the line y is equals to 0. Then now it says write down the equation of H, right? In the form of H of x is equals to px squared plus k. So the graph H is obtained when G is reflected along y is equals to 0. Where is y is equals to 0? Y is equals to 0 here. Sorry, I just need to scroll up. Y is equals to 0 in this line. That's where y is equals to 0. In this line here, x is equals to 0. And this horizontal line, y is equals to 0. Then now, basically, it says the graph H is obtained when the G is reflected along the line y is equals to 0. So which means it's reflected in your x-axis. In other words, write down the equation of H in the form of that. So basically, you need to develop a new equation of which is your H of x, that is from G of x. So basically what you need to do here, boys and girls, you need to be like, okay, this is my H of x is equals to negative, put your in brackets your this is g of x, the whole of this is g of x, because now we're told that it was reflected through y is equals to 0. So you must put this minus because everything will change, because when you say minus times a minus, it's a plus. So basically your h of x, it will be the happy face. So meaning that your h of x, let me just scroll up, meaning that your h of x, it will go like this basically, right? So basically you're taking this graph, can you see now it's upside down? You put it up so that it can have the happy face. Obviously, we know that if the graph has the happy face, number one, we know that A is positive, but the value of Q must be negative. So the negative that we have inserted here affects your value of A, of which is 2, it becomes plus 2. This outside negative also affects the value of Q, of which is going to be negative 8. So your new graph will be h of x is equals to 2x squared minus 8. Right. I hope everything is making sense. Okay, cool. Now I want us to look at question 6. However, we won't finish the whole of question 6. So question 6 says to you, the function p of x is equals to k to the power x plus q. We know already, because there is a power, we already know that this is an exponential graph. Plus q is described by the following properties, meaning that k is greater than 0, but k is not equals to 1, which means this is an asymptote. They're telling us that k cannot touch 1. X intercept at 2. No, this is not an asymptote. Basically says k cannot be equals to 1. And k is greater than 0, which means k can be 2, can be 3, can be 4. This is the value of k. In other words, k is given by a in the formal equation. Then your x-intercept at 2 is to 0. Then the horizontal asymptote is y is equals to -9. Remember the horizontal asymptote. The horizontal asymptote, guys, remember it's your range, basically, in other words. These are your asymptote, right? So now the first question says, write down the range of P. What is the range of P? We know the range of P, y is equals to -9, or y is less than or equals to -9, because I said the range is the same weight as your asymptote, basically. You're still going to do domain in grade 11, but in grade 10, we're still introducing the range, you know. So basically, if you look at your solution here for this one, we know that, okay, this needs to go. Let me just scroll down. Just a minute. Trying to scroll down, right? We know that the range is y is greater than -9. As I said to you, that your asymptote is your range. Then 6.1.2 says determine the equation of P. So we must determine the equation of P, meaning P of X. Meaning we must find, we know we must get the value of K. We know the value of Q, right? So basically, we can just substitute, right, with this intercept. Where there is y, we put 0. Where there is x, we put 2. Then there's also q, right? We can also get the q, right? So basically, what we need to do, and this one is for 3 marks. So what we need to do here was to substitute, right? So we need to get the value of k first. So px is equals to k squared plus q. Px is equals to k squared minus 9. This minus 9, remember, guys, is the asymptote. It represents your q. Then 0 is equals to k squared, right, minus 9. So we know k squared minus 9. This is the difference of 2 squares. Therefore, k can be plus or minus 3. But since k is greater than 0, therefore k will be equals to 3. Therefore, px is equals to 3 to the power of x minus 9. All right. Okay. All right, boys and girls. Then 6.1.3 says, sketch the graph of P, show clearly the intercepts with the x-axis of the and the asymptote, right? So we must sketch this P of x graph. So now if you look at this graph of which is P of x, when we sketch it, basically, we have to sketch it like this, because this is what? This is your exponential graph. So if I can just decrease here so that you can see, just want to decrease. Just want to decrease again so that you can see the graph clearly. Yeah. So I hope you can see the graph. It's quite long. Okay. Just wanna do like this so that you can see the graph. So if you look at the graph, the first thing you're supposed to put the dotted lines, the lines of asymptote, right? Therefore, y is equals to -9, basically, boys and girls. Then you know that the x-intercept, it was 2 is to 0. So which means your graph will pass through here, basically, right? your graph will pass through here, right? Then now, um, 6.2. 6.2, it's another long question. This will be part of your homework, guys, because now if we were to start 6.2, we won't be able to finish. So 6.2, I'm just gonna read it for you and analyze it for you tomorrow, first thing morning, not first thing morning because you have the afternoon class. First thing we have to start with this. It says sketch the below shows the graph of f of x is equals to k over x plus w and g of x is equals to negative x minus 1. So here is the hyperbola graph and a straight line graph. The graph G is the axis of symmetry, right? The graph G, meaning the straight line, is an axis of symmetry of F. The graph F and G intersect P and Q. So basically, P and Q, it's the points of intersections, right? So please look at this. You can take a screenshot or you can what you call, you can take a picture, and this will be part of your homework. First thing, tomorrow we're looking at this question, then we're going to move on. And g of x, its equation is given by g of x is equals to negative x minus 1. And we know that because this is what? This is your, this is your downward sloping. Therefore, the gradient is going to be negative, right? Okay, boys and girls, that's me for today. Have a lovely afternoon. Tomorrow we are finishing up this, and Friday we're looking at more detailed and consolidated question. Have a lovely evening. Goodbye.